Hey everybody, welcome back to the Thrillcat Cinema Lab. As you are aware, we are previewing a lot of the big names that are going to be at CEDIA Expo next month in Denver. CEDIA Expo 2025. It's hard to believe that we're already just about a month away, but here we are, and these companies have been working for months to prep their rooms and get a plan ready, find just the right group of partners, and we've been working through and talking with a lot of those partners who are exhibiting at CEDIA this year. And today we're going to talk up to a company that you may not be all that familiar with, but I'm very familiar with them because I have all NextLevel Acoustics speakers here in the Thrillcat Cinema Lab. It's my main system. And today we have co-owners Rob Goldman and Lee Weber from NextLevel Acoustics. They matched their T-shirts for the occasion. I forgot to wear mine. But hey, welcome to the lab.
Thanks, Travis.
So let's just jump right into this. How did this come about with this Sound Room 11? I believe you guys are. You are the speaker partner with the Lumagen Paragons of home cinema. Talk a little bit about how this group came together. Kind of not last minute, but this was a little bit more of a later addition to the roster at CEDIA.
Well, I have to say it's pretty apropos that we're in Sound Room 11. I didn't think about it till right now, but we're going to be turning it up to 11, aren't we?
These go to 11.
There you go.
Yes, we are. Little Spinal Tap. Come on, guys. We had been trying super hard to get a sound room and some partners together for CEDIA this year, something we've been trying to do for the last few years. We ended up doing just a regular booth where we wanted to showcase our sound bars, our subwoofers, more of our custom install pieces, things you would mate to TVs, our audio art system. And probably 2.5 months ago, we got a call that there was a booth getting put together, a sound room that needed some speakers. And Rob jumped in to save the day and got this going pretty quickly.
Yeah. I had kind of, Rob texted me and said, "Hey, should we do this?" And I said, "Yes, call him right now," and he did. And so the partners in this room, again, as it was, just 2.5 months ago, the partners in this room are no small players. We've got Lumagen, NextLevel Acoustics. You've got SpeakerPower, Trinnov, little known company that not many people have heard of Trinnov yet. But then you've also got, my seating back here is Valencia home theater seating. They're going to be in there. Digital Projection is a partner. And I know there are a couple others here that I'm forgetting, like the treatment partner, the acoustic treatment, Kinetics. Yeah. There's a lot of great partners in this room. I'm really interested to see it because it's, aside from maybe Trinnov, it's not the group you go see every year and see what they're doing this year. This is a new team doing something that I think is really going to be really cool and a little bit special, and not just because I have your speakers. Tell me a little bit about kind of the idea behind this room in terms of this group of partners.
Yeah, so this was a very interesting opportunity, especially when we reached out to Jim from Lumagen. As you can tell from some of the partners, some are extremely established and some are entering into, I guess, offering new products such as SpeakerPower, right? So it's kind of taking, the best of both worlds. If you have newcomers to CEDIA, you've got old vets, and then you have, kind of a mix in between. I think the biggest thing that we wanted to come across with the sound room is to show you what you can attain without being in the 1% in terms of income, right? Something that's somewhat obtainable for somebody that has, a decent budget, that is looking for high quality without the 10, 15, 20 time price tag.
Sure. Yeah, and obviously you've got Trinnov, the speakers, the Kaleidoscape is also going to have a device doing the playback. These are not inexpensive items, but they're not cost no object. They're attainable. I have them.
Correct.
I have them on my paltry YouTube income. Just kidding. I have a real job.
So, look, the rooms next to us, if I'm not mistaken, I just found out one of the rooms next to us has $750,000 worth of speakers. And I'm really excited for somebody to walk out of that room and come into ours and just be blown away with the level of sound we're putting out for what it's going to cost the end user. And I think it's really going to give the installers a nice tool in their arsenal and let people know, where we stand, what we can do besides just custom sound bars and pieces. We're really viable for higher end sound in big theaters and should be looked at.
Yeah, and not to even, be considered to, be discounting the quality of those cost no object speaker systems.
Oh God,
they're fantastic. They sound great. But so do my NextLevel Acoustics, the Cinema 8s, the HV15 subs. It's a great sounding product line. And to me, the biggest weakness is it's hard to get a demo of them. They're, you're not in every showroom. The dealers that do sell your products may not have a showroom. That doesn't, that's why I've kind of offered up my room as a Pacific Northwest demo theater for, folks who are interested in the NextLevel Acoustics product. You can set an appointment, go through a full background check, credit history. I need copies of your social security card and your birth certificate. But, after a few light precautions here, I've never had someone, I have a lot of home theater friends. Obviously we all do, because we're a strange breed, but I have friends come over and hear the system, and no one has not been just blown away by the quality of the sound in this room. And, like I've said, once you hear them, you realize that NextLevel Acoustics is a real contender in this marketplace. It's just, a matter of finding a place to hear them at this point. And hopefully as more folks hear them, hopefully folks leave CEDIA this year with a new option on their checklist that, we need to make sure to keep this brand as a serious contender, because I really think the quality's there. The form factor is a little different than a lot, with the on-wall, in-wall that sound like a big MTM in-room. It's a great product.
Oh, thank you. I mean, that's really what we were going for, right? I mean, Lee and I always talk about the price performance ratio, right? We feel that what we're able to offer in terms of performance far outweighs its price tag.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned the form factor, right? It's getting that amazing sound into traditional in-wall, on-wall, and even our partial in-wall speakers to really limit
idea.
that form.
That was the partial in-wall was my idea.
Yeah.
What was your idea?
Travis.
Yep.
Travis, you have those?
No.
The partials?
No, I wanted them for my two back surrounds, but then I did some fishing in the wall to see if I could put them back, and there's a big firewall right where one of them would need to go. So unfortunately, I was not able to do that.
I mean, what's amazing is just what you're saying is if you have an obstacle with your installation, if you have a problem with your wall, depth issues, our stuff can fit the bill on any of it.
Yeah.
And Matt, you can do a partial in wall that pops out just under 2 inches, but it's in the wall 4. Looks like a floating acoustical panel. You can have an on wall on the other side. You can have an in wall there. all of the same speaker, and they sound the same because they have the same back box. And,
Right.
Besides our sound quality, that's something we're shooting for. We're trying to make obstacles and problems in rooms go away.
Yeah, because when I first got these, we talked about the in wall versus the on wall, and the in walls are designed. The whole cabinet, the back box, is for 6-inch stud construction.
Right.
Me going into an existing build, I'm not tearing out all the drywall, but I would have loved to just pop an in wall in there. But it's 2x4 construction, so your in walls wouldn't work. That's how the idea of the hybrid in wall came up, because when you think about it, for someone who's putting up an acoustically transparent screen, you're going to gain that extra 2 inches of clearance that you need for the hybrid in wall when you put the screen over it. So you could go into 2x4 construction, put your screen right on the wall, and still have all the clearance you need for the speakers. So, I mean, again,
exactly
solving
right.
problems.
So, yeah, that it only projects off the wall 1.5 inches, which is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But like Lee mentioned, we keep the same air load. So it's just a collar system that goes around the speaker, but the air load is exactly the same. So you still get the same 95 dB efficiency, the same output, the same audio characteristics without the requirement for 2x6.
Yeah. Yep.
And really, we couldn't get it any smaller than that to have theater output. The fact that we could even get it to fit in 6-inch stud bays and have the performance, the output, the dynamics, everything in such a small form factor, I think is pretty amazing. But can't take all the credit because, that's John Sollecito, our engineer, who kind of a little behind the curtains wizard.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you guys talk about John, your engineer, but he's more than just John the engineer. Who is John Sollecito, and tell me about his experience? What's his resume?
Sure. So John's been building loudspeakers, I'd say, for at least 35 to 40 years. He's one of the original inventors of the infinite slope. He does all his own crossover work. He's kind of the Wizard of Oz. He's the magic man behind the scenes. So what you're getting engineering that used to go into $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 towers, now going into everyday products such as sound bars and theater speakers and so on and so forth. So it's way beyond theory. You just can't teach that, especially because it all stems from him making thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of speakers and birdhouses, and eventually getting to something that's quite magical, to be really honest. What you're able to do with this size form factor is just outstanding. And even to get into a little bit of the technicalities, these speakers are just so special. Because of what he was able to do with that horn. So normally horns are, amazing output, cinematic properties, but sometimes could be a little fatiguing on the ears.
Mm-hmm.
And then if not done right, also maybe sounding a little tinny in the higher frequencies. So since John does his own crossover work, he was able to figure out a way to limit 90% of those first order reflections. So in layman's terms, what does that mean? You're getting the cinematic output and power handling of a horn with the subtleties and nuances that you would traditionally find in a silk dome tweeter. And that's why these speakers, we feel, are just so special, because there's nothing that you can't throw at it that it won't be able to handle.
Yeah, Rod, you're completely right. The trade-offs of having a horn tweeter, you have them in live venues, you have them in the movie theaters, because they're super efficient and dynamic, but they're not always the pinnacle of sound quality. They're not the smoothness of the silk dome tweeter, but there's a trade-off because you want that type of sound in a theater experience. You want something visceral. You want the glass breaking. But it can definitely get a little shrill, a little harsh. So yeah, John did that little magical work to tame that, and I think it's definitely paid off. Travis, do you notice that when you hear yours?
Yeah, I was going to add, I am not a fan of horn style compression tweeters. I replaced a set of the speakers that these Cinema 8s replaced in my room were Silk Dome tweeters that had replaced a whole complement of horn based MTMs and surrounds in my old theater. I got tired of hearing that they were harsh. They were honky a little bit as something that, that that upper mid range honk that they can have. And I got tired of that and I replaced it with some Silk Dome tweeters, and I loved those speakers too. They just didn't have the output for this room. And when I was in the market, I heard these actual Cinema 8s at CEDIA a few years ago, and I had you ship them to me here in Seattle after the show, and they haven't left, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. But what I've noticed, especially when you consider the size of my room, these speakers take to EQ and room correction like nothing else I've ever uh, played with. I can make them sound like my last speakers. I can make them sound like a JBL that you bought from, the old Cineplex when it closed down, the huge horns. You can make them sound however you want. They're really, really flexible once you've got them installed and put some EQ and room correction on them. Currently I'm running them with a StormAudio ISR Fusion 20 that Matt Trinkline from Storm did a remote calibration on. And he went through the PEQ on the Storm and flattened out the frequency response of the front stage. And then he went into Dirac Live Art and fixed all the, the standing waves and reflections in the room. And it's just fantastic. Most of the time when you get a horn tweeter like this, they're like Lee said, they're great for large rooms where just the distance can take some of the edge off, because the horn harshness doesn't make it all the way to the listener in a full size commercial cinema or in an arena. But you put them in a room like mine that's 12 feet wide and 18 feet deep, and that's a lot of high end energy coming right at you from a short distance. But it's not an issue with these speakers. It's fantastic. It's there when you need it. There's a lot of detail. There's a lot of like impact dynamics. When there's a crash, you hear it and you feel it. But when people are talking, it's really nice and smooth, and there's no fatiguing factor at all in these. So, but I'm doing all the talking right now, and you guys are supposed to be telling me about your speakers. No, so let's.
I love the fact that you're you have them. You have a place that people can come and hear them, but people don't. I don't know if people watching realize this is truly, from my perspective, you're doing this because you love it. You loved our speakers. You're not doing us any favors, and
Right.
You're here because you really enjoyed them. We've built a relationship with you based upon the fact that you were like, I love what you guys are doing. This has been a friendship, and a lot of people are probably watching thinking, oh, he's going to say good stuff. And honestly, it couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah.
And that's very similar to what Rob and I have built and why we do it. Both of us were geeks. We love home theaters. I'm super cinephile. Rob loved it. I met Rob about 8-9 years ago, and it had nothing to do with it. It was this kind of, like you said, your home theater friends. That's how this started. This is super grassroots. We love what we're doing. We're excited for it, and I think that it's going to be great for people to come hear us in the sound room, especially just considering that I mean, this is all made by hand in Connecticut by people who just love what we're doing. It's fun. It's and I think I really want that to come across more than anything. Our stuff sounds incredible, but we have a passion for it. We wouldn't be doing it otherwise.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it really, I'm not getting paid for all of the content that when I talk about these speakers. I'm just still constantly impressed when I turn on my system and sit down and we watch a movie. I'll go and I'll watch, when the movie's over, I'll sit down here by myself and just watch other clips where I can hear impacts. And, I've got my little kaleidoscope playlists of all the great scenes that really just like kind of make me giggle a little bit when I hear them in this room.
Scene?
What's that?
What's your go-to scene? What do you put on when you want to just see how a speaker's performing? I have mine in case.
Yeah, mine is still the Blade Runner 2049 skirmish at the waste processing plant. I think there's some great Atmos effects where, there's things coming over the top and almost kind of under you a little bit when they're still in the air before they crash. You can almost hear stuff kind of going under the camera. But then, I love that aspect in the rain, but there are a couple other just when the guys.
So Travis, that's actually one of mine too, by the way. I love the beginning of the new Blade Runner. That big, it kills your room. Some speakers just can't handle it.
There's a spot in that waste process, like when they're trying to cut him out of the vehicle, and they've got the saw that they attach to the side of the vehicle with the suction cups. The sound of that it sounds like someone's in the guest room trying to cut their way into the theater. And then, the sound when he gets out, I hate the sound when he cracks the guy's back. Like that gives me the willies. But then the sound of his weapon, I think it's what I'm not a gun guy at all. I don't know what you would call it. I'm not a sci-fi gun guy either. I'm not an imaginary gun guy, but I'm fascinated by the sound design of guns and weapons in movies. And I love, like, if you go through my scenes, 90% of them have someone shooting something, even though I'm not a gun fan. I love the sound design, and I love how they create different sonic signatures for these weapons that don't exist in real life. And that's one of them. I love the sound of his weapon in that scene. So, yeah.
How much of a gunshot? Sometimes that they can just have that mid-range hit. And that's really how I can, test something. And then combine it with hitting glass and different things. It's definitely a great way to test out a system.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've scared a couple of participants at the Tech Summit with some gunshots. We had one of the directors of CEDIA sitting in the seat, and that individual was just talking, and then all of a sudden, one of the gunshots rang out, and she jumped sky high, thinking that she was being shot. So it's extremely. There's a lot of realism in terms of what these speakers are able to reproduce, and as you mentioned, right. They're super easy to calibrate. So if you like that flatter response, you can do it. If you want a little more openness, you can do it. You can tailor it to your specific taste and style in terms of what you want going on in your cinema.
Yeah. And actually that's another difference is, Lee was talking about that impact of a gun and glass breaking and things like that. A lot of speakers, if you want to get that aspect of a dynamic, you have to EQ it in a way that brings in that harshness and that abrasiveness on voices and other things that are going on in a scene or in a movie, where with these you're not losing that impact and that dynamics and the high end detail. And, a little bit of shrill. If a sound is supposed to be shrill, I want it to be shrill. I don't want every voice and every impact or every piece of a sound design to be shrill and harsh. And there's a balance there where it's there when it's supposed to be and it's not when it's not supposed to be. And some speakers, you have to EQ that in, which makes everything have that impact. So these are just, they're very accurate. They're very true.
Yeah, and that's Go ahead, Lee.
Maybe what you were going to say is better than me. Go. No, what I was going to say is something I really love about the speakers is too, in the quiet scenes. Like they breathe. There's something going on. Like I feel the room. I feel like I'm there. And of course, that's a combination of being dialed in right, great calibration, great sound design. But it's definitely something that has stood out to me in a lot of like more atmospheric chill scenes that I just really feel kind of enveloped in what's going on. So
absolutely.
So I'm actually a former nightclub DJ, so I'm really into music. So for me, it's the soundtrack, it's the score, especially some of the scenes that have these really, either subtle or intense, music vocal demonstrations, such as The Shallow or so many other movies. It's being able to represent those, and you're understanding that you're hearing a horn, but they're sounding like silk tones. So you're getting the silkiness and just breathiness. I mean, these easily have done the Nora Jones on the Kaleidoscope, and you feel like you're there. And that's a very soft, subtle, silky, jazzy type atmosphere that these are just layups for these speakers. So, like we kind of mentioned before, we think we have something special to show, and we're hoping that people will come and partake in the sound room.
So what is the complement that you're going to be showing at CEDIA this year? What speakers are going to be there?
Yeah. So this is a 9.4.6. This is the first time that we'll be rolling out the Cinema Pros. So the Cinema Pros are the big brother to the Cinema 8s. Those are dual 8s with dual 6.5s with a 4x4 horn. So what you're going to get is you're going to get even more output and more mid-bass slam. So if that's even possible, because the Cinema 8s are, those can keep going higher and higher and higher with no distortion. So think of the Cinema Pros for really big rooms, or when you want, even more mid-bass slam. So those three are going to be anchoring the front LCR. And since we have multi-rows, we're doing two pairs of Cinema 8s on the sides, a pair of Cinema 8s in the rear. Our IC44As modified as on-ceiling versions, and then 4 high-velocity 15 passive subs powered by SpeakerPower at quarter points all throughout the room to eliminate the bass noise.
Very nice. Yeah, and the HV15s, I've got a review of those coming in the not too distant future. Probably be right after CEDIA, just with everything else going on. But I've been using the HV15s in here. What's it been now? About 6 weeks?
Yeah.
And just a really, really tight, powerful bass. They've replaced a pair of sealed 12-inch subs that did well for what they were, but they just didn't have the output that these have. And I've found it was interesting that these are a bandpass sub, because you don't see that a lot. That that's more of your automotive sub design. But to put them in here, even Matt from Storm commented on the subs and said these are very fast. He was in some other city somewhere. I don't even know where he was when he did the calibration remotely, but just looking at the measurements, he could see that they were fast. They were very dynamic. I guess we named them
properly.
Exactly. The high velocity.
It's the speed of the subs, but it's the recovery of how quickly they can reproduce the low notes in that speed.
Mm-hmm.
Some can be fast, but can it be fast and have that frequency? Right. And that's kind of, I think, the trick that John came up with his bandpass design, whatever he's doing in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of engineering gone into those. And as Lee mentioned, right, they're high velocity because they hit accurately and then they're out just as fast. So you're not getting that linger that's then going into the next note. It's what you see on the outside is not what you see on the inside. On the inside is all the secret sauce. So
if I had to if I had to describe it, I would probably say it has the accuracy of a sealed sub with the output of a ported sub. Um, it's not
Yeah.
going to hit single digits. It's not
No.
designed to be an infrasonic sub. My
Correct.
room's not sealed. I can't imagine what it would take to pressurize this room when there's not a door on it. So, I mean, my goal was not to provide infrasonic bass in here, but I can feel it. I'm in the basement, have pressed concrete floors down here, and these are enough to vibrate my chair, and I can feel the bass, I can feel the impact, I can feel it in the room, I can feel the energy. It's just not, they're not going to hit the brown note, probably for the
Nope.
best.
They're
I'm
I'm a
not.
little sensitive
tell
that way
you,
anyway.
probably people dig that, I guess.
Yeah.
I think these hit super low. They rip my room apart. The whole room shakes. My chair shakes. My chest shakes.
Yeah.
They are fast. I mean, I couldn't want more. So I don't get where everybody wants that infrasonic sound that can maybe happen in real life. Never.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, there are a couple scenes I guess it's super cool to have, but yeah,
Yeah.
I've never felt the lack of it. Have you, Rob? I mean, when we discussed the sub and we listened.
I've never missed that, right? I mean, these aren't meant to go down into, 10 hertz, 8 hertz. It's just the, 16, 17 is plenty accuracy. And Travis, correct me if I'm wrong, but how much power are you putting into these to hit those reference levels?
Well, I've got the Behringer amp. I'm trying to think. I think it's 900 watts per sub. But I rarely see the indicator light on that even show up, in terms of, I think there's 3 green to yellow to red. It hits like the second green, the way they're really efficient. They're really,
Yeah.
easy to drive in terms of that. But more power is always good.
Always good to have the headroom, but I mean, yeah. I mean, we partner with SpeakerPower, and we have so we can produce these as active, and we have
Right.
a 750 watt plate amp, and I can tell you that by the time you get to halfway, you're already at reference.
Yeah.
And that's how easy these subs are. Also easy to drive.
Yep.
Right. You don't need 2,000 watts going into them.
Right.
So that's also another benefit.
The whole speaker line, that was one of the biggest things. Even our forum speakers, everything's really easy to drive, and that's something John always. That's part of his theory in speaker design. He wants them to be easy to drive. He wants them to be efficient, dynamic, and be clean and produce the sound properly. And that's why you said you can dial them in, you can calibrate them easily because they're meant to be.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to point out when you were talking about calibrating them and getting them in your room, people don't realize how important that is.
Yeah.
Every room's going to sound different. The speakers, designed to sound amazing where they're designed, but they're going to go into a room that are different sizes, different widths. You're going to put them behind a screen, and to have a speaker that you can now manipulate with your equalization to get to that point that they were built to sound exactly how the director intended or the speaker designer intended is not always the easiest thing.
Right. I'm gonna try something here, and I might have to edit this out. Here's my measured response, the green being the subs and the blue and purple being the left and right. This is after Matt had done that remote calibration. I don't see anything wrong with that at all, quite frankly.
Yeah.
It's really enjoyable.
And that's really why we got into this business. I mean, So we sell through dealers. And at least for me, the biggest joy is when a dealer calls us up and said, "Hey, just installed your speakers. It's calibrated," and the client had a smile on their face.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, I get the biggest kick out of that.
Yeah. And for those who think I'm getting paid for doing these, whatever, Rob, you have talked to me countless times saying you should become a dealer. You should be a dealer. You should join our dealer team. And I'm not a dealer. I don't get it. I talk about this because I think these are a fantastic option that people need to, at the very least, give them a chance, find a place to hear them. And, now I think this is why, circling back to CEDIA 2025, if you're going to be there, don't miss this room. You really do want to hear these speakers, because this is a great opportunity to hear them with some fantastic equipment attached. And, they're not easy to find demos of, but once you hear it, you're going to remember it.
We're working on that, though.
Yeah.
We are actively talking to a lot of dealers across the country, trying to get into their demo rooms. There's a lot that are responding right now. I think 2026 is gonna be good for us. I think we're in the middle of doubling our output at our factory in Connecticut. We're gonna have a beautiful demo theater there. So we're gonna have East Coast. We're working with some New York dealers. We've got you on the West Coast. We have a lot of we're gonna hopefully have up to 10 demo rooms going on.
Awesome.
Within the year, I would assume. We're also pretty friendly with our dealer base to where we get them the speakers if they need to demo them to their clients.
Right.
One thing is, we only go out through a dealer base. We don't do any online sales or any of that. So you do have to talk to a dealer to get them, but our dealers should be educated, know the product enough, and be able to do a real good demo, even bring them out to you. And yeah, we're super excited for this room. We have, you listed the players earlier. There's a couple we didn't even talk about too. Rob, who's doing what's Adam's company doing the calibration?
Oh, is it Bespoke?
Bespoke Cinema, is that Adam Peltz?
Bespoke Cinema from Adam Peltz, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're excited for that because he really, he's considered one of the top guys in the industry. Just a lot of really good players in this room, and I'm really excited to see what it does.
I forgot to mention my good friend Chris Seymour, who I'm going to be talking to tonight. Chris and I used to live a block apart. So yeah, Chris was my initial, I've been into surround sound and home theater for decades now, since college. But it was when I lived a block from Chris that I finally had a room that I could build into a real theater, and Chris was definitely an enabler.
The Iowa connection.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I ordered a screen from Seymour before I even knew him. I had done all the research. I ordered the screen, and then a couple weeks later, I got a phone call saying, "Hey, do you want to come out to the shop and pick this up, or should I drop it off on my way home?" And that was when I realized, oh, he's right here in Ames, Iowa, and he lived a block away. So we became very good friends, and yeah,
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, then you should tell him that either Thursday or Friday night he's buying dinner for all of us.
I didn't catch what. Don't
mumble, Lee.
Thursday or
Friday night at India, he's taking us all out. There you go. Come on, Chris, we're ready.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Chris, what screen? Do you know, Rob? What screen? What material?
It's a new trim masking screen. I think it's going to go from 16 by 9 to 235.
Yeah. I'll find out tonight what material will be in for the actual screen, but yeah, it's a 16 by 9 masking screen.
Yep.
Motorized masking, and the Lumagen triggers that based on the incoming video signal, so it's like totally hands off with the masking, which is always nice.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be great. Yeah, we're super stoked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, I can't say it enough times. When you get the chance, if you get the chance, listen to these speakers. I'm a demo theater here. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, they'll be at CEDIA here, CEDIA 2025 in Denver. It's not too late to sign up and get there so you can hear them. And it's exciting to hear that you've got more demo theaters coming online. I know that's not necessarily an easy thing these days, because gone are the days of a home theater retailer or dealer having a shop with 5 showrooms and showcasing all their products. They kind of have to select one out of their entire offering line, one speaker manufacturer to show. And so the fact that you're able to increase the number of dealer showrooms that you're going to be appearing in is a testament to the not just the quality but the value. Plus made in the USA is also another nice little selling point, especially with things going on the way they're going on. Seymour-Screens is another that are made in the USA. Lumagen made in the USA.
Lumagen as well.
Yeah.
That was definitely one of the things I wanted to promote. It's hard to promote a complete made in the USA booth, but we're closer than anybody's getting to. And price wise, we haven't really gone up because of the tariffs. Some of our soft costs and things have, but we really haven't dumped that onto the dealers or the end users. And that's one of the advantages.
Yeah. So we're actually going to, after CEDIA, we're going to be launching a webpage that's going to list all of the demo theaters across the country. I think right now we're up to 6 that are going to go live as soon as that webpage launches. And then obviously, as we continue to add more, we'll have full rundowns of what's in the room, how to get in contact. So just making it easier for people to find these demo rooms and being able to go experience it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know I've also hosted a couple of Pacific Northwest dealers who were, interested in carrying the line. So if you're a dealer in this area and you're interested in selling NextLevel, reach out to NextLevel and they'll connect you with me, and you can come on over and experience them in an installation that's very real world. This is my home. I'm not at an office somewhere. It's a home theater. It's got, I'm using this, like I said, the StormAudio head unit, Kaleidoscape, the JVC projection, Lumagen, Seymour-Screen. So you can experience these in a real world situation with some definite higher end equipment surrounding them, and help you make that decision to sell NextLevel Acoustics.
Travis, that's another great point. Not everyone is in a situation where you could start from scratch and build the floating walls, right? And have everything exactly perfect and tow in the speakers and do everything right from, I guess, the science aspect of it. Yeah. We understand that there are real world environments where you've got drop down ductwork, where you're dealing with challenging walls, or you can't move things, or openings in the back of your room. And that's what makes these speakers so great, is because they're so forgiving in terms of the calibration, right? They can they can pretty much excel in any format. So you don't have to have the perfect room. I mean, I'll be honest, in my demo theater, I don't have the perfect room and they sound amazing. I've got drop down ductwork on one side of the room. But they sound absolutely great. It all comes down to just how efficient and how easy these are to dial in.
Yeah. And just another, the fact that they're easy to dial in, the fact that they do well with room correction is just, thinking in terms of, a lot of people are like, well, I don't have a perfect room, so I shouldn't invest in this, that, or the other thing. And the more you invest in the equipment, the more you can make up for the shortcomings of your room. And again, not to say that these are incredibly expensive, out of reach speakers. These are priced very fairly. For the performance that you get, These outperform a lot of speakers that you can buy direct from the manufacturer for more. These outperform a lot of more expensive speakers. So I can't say enough that, you know, hear them when you get the chance. You won't forget them.
Ooh, I like it.
I should put that on a t-shirt.
There you go.
I need a new t-shirt.
Yours does look a little faded compared to Rob's.
I wear it more, man. Every day I sleep in it.
So yeah, once again, make sure you, if you're going to be at CEDIA, you're going to want to check out the NextLevel Acoustics room. It's the Lumagen Paragons of home cinema, Sound Room 11. You're going to want to experience them. Again, you're probably tired of hearing me talk about them, but I'm going to keep talking about them because I listen to them every night and I enjoy them every time. So stick around. We've got more of these coming. I'm going to be talking to Seymour, to Valencia, and MadVR, many others coming up in the coming week and a half or so. So make sure you like and subscribe. Smash that like button, hit subscribe. Ring the bell, I think is what the kids say. Is that what the kids say? That's what the kids say, is ring the bell. You're going to see more of my gray t-shirts, hear more of my random ramblings, and yeah, have a good one. We'll see you soon.
It's very, very special because if you can see, the numbers all go to 11. Look, right across the board. 11, 11,
and most of
11,
the
and
amps go up to 10.
Exactly.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?